What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on Buy Sell Cars TV. Today we've got something super interesting. So we have potentially got the lowest mileage Corsa B in existence. It is a one owner car and it has only covered 17,000 miles. That is right, I did say 17,000 miles. Not something which you see every day. You don't even see these cars on the road anymore, so it's a nice little thing to bring to the channel, show you what a car off this mileage is still like to drive, and potentially is there any profit to be made on this car, because a lot of you are probably thinking, super old car, you know, that's not going to be a reliable car, it's not going to be in demand. Well, I'm here to prove you guys wrong, because if it's a low mileage car and it drives very well, there is always going to be demand for those types of cars. So without further ado, let's give you a walk around the car, show you the interior and exterior, and then we're going to go for a quick drive and see how this super low mileage Corsa B is driving. So let's start on the exterior. One thing I do like about this car is the color. I think green is something definitely coming back into fashion. Overall condition so far, to be honest, it is an old car, so you are going to expect to see battle wounds along the way. The biggest one is we've got a big dent over here on the rear quarter. So if you can see down here, yeah, it's not a nice crease, but it is what it is. Maybe you can get it pulled out, but it is an old car. You have to expect these things. Bit unfortunate because it is such a low miler. It would have been nice if it was in immaculate condition, but low mileage doesn't always necessarily mean good bodywork. So that's something we're noticing. Over down this side as well, how are we looking? Well, it's a lot better than the other side, shall I say. No major dents at all on this side from what I can see. There are a couple of little white bits on the car. I'm trying to work out exactly what they are. I'll give you a couple of close-ups. So over here, we've got a couple of bits over there, around here on the door. Kind of everywhere, to be honest with you. It's not ideal, so I'm hoping this isn't anything like paint, but we'll get the car dropped off to the valeters, and it is all over the car. I know, hang on, is it coming off? To be fair, it's coming off. Whatever it is, I don't think it's going to be end of the world. But looking at the car as a whole, you can see it has got a lot of wounds, bumper scuffs on the corners. It is an old car. Bit of a shame being super low miles. However, that gives you an idea of the current state of the car. Not much will change drastically, but once it's valeted, that paint is definitely going to pop a lot more. But let me show you the interior. All right, so moving into the interior, how are we looking on first glance? Well, condition-wise, I think the seats are looking very, very good. There is minimal wear to the bolsters. A little bit of dirt, as you'd expect, around the seat, especially on this part of the bolster, but I guess that is kind of normal. Carpet down here, what have we got? Potentially an original carpet underneath as well. Yeah, that's good. To be honest with me, I'm happy with that. That just needs a good old hoover, but the actual carpet underneath is in very, very good condition. I believe they're original mats, so again, bit of a plus point. Nice thing to see on a car of this age. Can get those cleaned up as well to make them look a lot better than what they are now. The rest of the car over here just needs a good old clean. It's very, very dusty. You just look over in the vents as well, you can see, you know, layers of dust. Probably hasn't had a valet in a long, long time. Your typical in and out job doesn't always get to those little nooks and crannies, but we're going to get all that rectified in this video. Down over here in the center console, same sort of thing. We've got a lot of, you know, grime and old hairs. Not really too sure exactly what they are, but a lot of that will get scrubbed out, so that's not a big issue. Passenger seat, same thing as well. It's in very, very good condition, just needs a light scrub. Condition wise, it is in very, very good condition. And over on this side, we've got the same thing. We've got the original carpet. So all in all, looking at the front half of the car, I think it just needs a good old clean. Now we're going to definitely be able to bring this up to, you know, a solid 8 or 9 out of 10. But let's see how the rears are looking. They are looking like they have never ever been sat in, maybe in the last 20 odd years. Even the carpets down here, how are we looking? Original carpets, potentially. Yeah, underneath here is looking very, very good as well. I think the biggest giveaway for me that no one sat in these seats is the fact that the seat belts are clicked in. That is something which happens on an MOT. The last MOT for this car, I believe, was in the summer, so don't think this car has had a lot of use since then, nor has anyone sat in the back. So for me, the overall condition of the interior, it's a thumbs up, just needs a good old clean, but we're going to get that sorted later in the video. So that should give you an idea now of how the car is looking in its current state. Bodywork wise isn't ideal, but it is an old car, so we can get away with a couple of those things. But interior, I think we're looking good. So after it's been valeted, you're going to see the difference it's made from the before and afters. Most of it is just layers of dust and a little bit of, you know, scrubbing needed. So for now, let's go for a drive, see how this car is driving, and let's talk about some of the things which are going to need to get done to this car to get it ready for sale. And then at the end of the video, once we've picked up this car from the valeters and it's ready, we'll talk through some of those figures and look at the potential margins in this car, because it's a bit of a tricky one to price. Very old car, super low mileage, but there definitely is a big profit to be made in this car. So stay tuned throughout this whole video where we're going to show the whole process of getting this car ready and then look into those margins at the end of the video. But for now, let's take this one for a drive. So how is the Corsa driving? Surprisingly, very, very nice. The only bone I've got with this car is the accelerator pedal feels a little bit heavy. I know it's an older car, it's probably a cable throttle or whatever, but it does sometimes catch you off guard, especially if you're not used to it. When you're pulling away from a roundabout or at a junction, you'll go to lift the clutch and the accelerator pedal just isn't really budging. So something you've got to get used to with these older cars, but not end of the world, just something to think about. The clutch feels very, very nice. The gearbox is silky smooth for something of this age as well, goes straight into gear. And to be honest, it doesn't feel like I'm driving a car which is 25 years old. Even the suspension, the steering, there isn't any knocks, any creaks. I guess that is going to be reflected with the mileage, but it just gives you an idea of the condition of this car. And that's backed up with the MOT history as well. So the last 3 years had no advisories. For something of this age, if you've got no advisories, that is an absolute brilliant thing to see. And that's one of the reasons which leads on to why I bought this car. Seeing such a good, clean MOT history is always a plus point. It's always going to help sell a car, and it just gives you an idea of the type of life the car has had. You know, if it's had every year big advisories, you know, the car's probably had a bit of a hard life. Or vice versa, if the car is advisory free, it tells you the car's not been driven too hard, or it's just been maintained to keep that car up to a good standard. So either way, it's a plus point. But the two things which stood out to me on this car were that it was a one owner, and of course the mileage being only 17,000. Those 2 points really stood out to me and made me think, has this car been owned by a more elderly person? Now, I can't generalize and say that's always the case, but from experience, that is something which you do tend to see. Long-term ownership, low mileage. It's a sign of someone who's more of a mature owner. Now, a bit of a downside obviously is that the car is old. So when people are looking to buy a car, they would generally like to buy a car that's as new as possible. The Polo is a prime example that I had. You know, the 200,000 mile car? That was a 58 reg or a 2009 car. Crazy high mileage, but honestly, my phone was ringing non-stop for that car. So that kind of tells you people do just want a newer car sometimes rather than a lower mileage. But in my opinion, there is always a market for everything. Everything sells at the right price. So what are we going to need to get done to this car to get it ready for sale? Not a lot, but there are a couple of things which I would like to address. So the car didn't come with any service history. Now, I'll be honest with you, if it has been owned by a mature person, the fact that the mileage is so little, this car has probably been serviced every year. The engine bay looked absolutely fantastic. The oil looked really fresh as well. So I'm sure this car has been serviced probably every year. And the reason I say that, if it is a one owner mature person, they do that. I've seen cars serviced every 500 miles in the past before. So that's just my opinion. But unfortunately, I can't prove it. So that means the first thing I'm gonna have to do is get the car serviced. So I'll get it serviced, get them to check things over whilst it's there, but I don't see this car having major issues. MOT wise, am I going to get it done? It's got about 6 or 7 months on there at the moment, so I probably won't get it done right now. If I do need to get it done, I'll get it done at the point of sale, because I don't really know the situation with this car. I don't know if I'm going to have it in stock for a long time. It's a super low mileage car, but you know, it might not be for everyone's taste, so could be stuck around for a while. So it makes sense if I do the MOT, get it done at the point of sale. And then the last thing is just getting this car valeted. So as you've seen inside, it is pretty clean, the car. It just needs a few things scrubbing up and getting rid of those layers of dust. So look, those are the main points that are going to need to get done on this car to get it ready for sale. Not a lot of things, but definitely things which are going to add value and only complement the fact that this is a super low mileage car. But as a whole, the car's looking fantastic. Everything works as it should. It's a very basic car, so you've got manual windows, manual, you know, adjustment for the mirrors, even the sunroof, it's on a manual winder. So there's not a lot of things to go wrong with this car, but everything seems to be working as it should. So massive plus point for me on that front. So that gives you an idea now of how the car is looking inside, outside, how the car is driving. It gives you a good first impression and an idea of where we're starting from, what's going to need getting done to the car, and just showing you the current state of how things are. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this car dropped off straight to the valeters, let them work their magic. From there, get it taken to the mechanics and let them do their servicing. And then at that point, once the car's ready for sale and had its transformation done, we're going to pick up this video again and I'm going to show you how the car is looking in its final state, ready for sale. And also we're going to talk about the facts and figures. So we're going to look into how much this car cost me from the auction and look into what we can sell it for, because it is a bit of a tricky one to price this car. Being an old, super low mileage, there's probably not a lot of them for sale on the market. This, like I said, this is probably the lowest Corsa B in the country potentially. So price wise, it's going to be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to have to do a bit of research onto that. But we will talk about money, we will talk about profit at the end of this video. So for now, guys, stay tuned and I'm going to catch up with you once this car is ready for sale. So I'll see you shortly. And just like that, the Corsa is now ready for sale. So let me give you a walk around off the exterior whilst we're here. Nothing drastic has changed, as I was saying earlier. Not really looking to get the bodywork done because of the age of the car, but getting it valeted, getting it cleaned, you get to see a little bit of a difference on the exterior. But of course, as always, the big change is when we get to the interior. But that will be done very, very shortly. But just giving you a little walk around now, just so you get an idea of how the car is going to be looking in its current state, ready for sale. So let's get to the juicy bit. Let me show you the interior. Right, so what do you guys think? From how it was looking earlier in the video to how it is looking now after it has been valeted. The seats definitely have a bit more color and a bit more life to them. If you remember, there was a bit of dirt on the bolsters, so that has come out nicely. Carpets as well, looking good. Tiny bit of stain is still here. It's actually looking more worse on the camera than it is in real life, but it is an old mat, so you can't expect miracles. But the Vauxhall is looking nice and vibrant and red, so nice to see the original carpet still doing well. Underneath here as well, it's all been hoovered up. It's looking a lot better than how it was before. Same situation on the passenger side. The carpet over there is looking very, very good. I'd give it a 9 out of 10, to be honest, from how it was looking before. It wasn't the worst car to begin with. Like I say, it was just layers of dust and a bit of grime and dirt. But I think from how it was looking before, definitely a big improvement. Let's check the rears as well. Not that there is much to see over in the rears, because from before, the car was looking very, very nice. But even still, if we're getting the car valeted, you want it all to be matching. So the colour of the seats is looking nice and clean. But hopefully that gives you an idea of how the car is now looking in its current state, ready for sale after getting it valeted and prepped. So let's jump inside, let's run through some of the things which had to get done and talk about those facts and figures, cost of the car, profit to be made on the car. So let's get on with that now. Right, so let's get into some of those nitty-gritty questions and talk about how much this car cost, the potential profit I can sell it for, and also how much have I spent on this car getting it ready for sale. So let's start with the all-important question, how much did this car cost me? Well, I've got it here. So the hammer price was £625. Now, of course, as always, there are some fees involved. So that left me a total cost from the auction of £871. Then obviously we spoke about the car needed to get a service done because we haven't got any service history, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. So that cost me £80. And then as you've just seen, we had the car valeted as well. So that cost £50 to get it to the standard it is now. MOT wise, I haven't done it because, as I said, if the car sticks around for a little while, it's something I haven't had before. I'd rather get it done at the point of sale if it needs doing, but undecided yet. But if it sells tomorrow, it sells. If it needs to get done later on, it'll get done. So that would cost £40, but I'm not going to include that at this moment. And then getting this car advertised, it's around £20-25 depending on where I'm going to price the car at. So really and truly, we're looking at £50 for the valet, £80 for getting it serviced, and then another 20 odd quid for the advertising. So all in all, we're actually only spending around £150 on top of the total price to get this car ready for sale. So where does that leave us with pricing this car on the market? Well, it is a tricky one to price, but I'm thinking to price this around the £2,500 mark to begin with. And if I do need to drop it, I will then look to do that accordingly if I don't get the interest in this car. But I know it's an older car, but it's super low mileage. So I do think it's still a very fair price. So If I can sell it around the £2,500 mark, then we'll be looking at a very good margin on this car, because all in, it's cost probably about just over £1,000. I'll pop on the screen now so you've got an exact idea of the costing. But if we can sell it at the 2.5, we'll be looking at around a pre-tax profit of around the 1,500 mark. But again, I'll pop it on the screen so you've got an idea of the exact margin. But that's what I'm thinking. It could maybe sell for a little bit more. Equally, it might sell for a bit less. So I'm going to try it at the 2.5 first and see how we get along. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the potential margins available in this car. But I will let you know later in another video if this car sold and for how much. So make sure you stay tuned and make sure you stay subscribed to all these videos so you get to know all the content and all the knowledge that I'm going to bring to tell you guys about the car market. So on that note, guys, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you so much again for watching. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care, guys.